Welcome to episode crazy work. Crazy work. So we have made it all the way to episode 5, okay? We had to skip a week to kind of get things together, get things in line, but we are back and we finna get into some things today, okay? So like I mentioned last episode, not last episode, the last announcement, today's episode we are going to be focusing on resilience. There's a lot to unpack with resilience, but we're not going to go too deep into resilience. We're just going to kind of like scrape the surface, because my thing is we need to be able to talk about it. I feel like there's some like discrepancies as far as what resilience is and how is it good to be resilient? Is it bad to be? What does it mean to be resilient? All of these things I've been thinking about over the last couple of weeks, because your girl has had to be resilient, okay? So I kind of just wanted to just touch base on that. And so we're just going to dive right in. So pretty much I am going to start with what I believe my definition of resiliency is. And then we'll kind of dive into the actual definition by the dictionary. And so to me, being resilient means anything that's thrown at you, you absolutely can overcome it. Anything that you're dealt, even if it's a bad hand, you can handle it and you can get yourself up out of it. That's what resiliency means to me. So I'm going to give you, because I don't want to lie, but this is the definition verbatim: the capacity to withstand or to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness. So I feel like that's pretty much the same thing. So, in other words, I guess. And so pretty much what I feel like that's a good definition. I feel like the important word is difficulty. The capacity to. So like when you think of things that you go through or things that happen to you and stuff like that, there are a lot of things that you have to have the mental capacity to deal with. And sometimes you just don't, so like if you're in a mood or you're having a day where you're just like, I literally am overstimulated, I don't have the time, I don't have the mental capacity to even, kind of process what's going on or whatever the case may be. That's a real thing. That happens. Sometimes that happens more often than we would like. However, being aware and knowing that you're not capable can solve a lot of problems as well. So if you think about it, you think about, you try to be there for people, you try to be there for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for your kids, for your spouse. Sometimes you're just unavailable. And there's nothing wrong with that. But even knowing that you're unavailable makes life so much easier, because you could think that you're available and you are just a literal, right. We're not getting a response. We're not getting like an emoji. We're not getting anything. But you think that you're showing up for somebody, but it's like you're empty inside. Either way. So I think that that's a pretty good definition. And so pretty much I'm just going to start with the question: is it a good thing to be resilient, or is it a bad thing to be resilient? So when I was thinking about the topic, when I was thinking about what I was going to talk about, and I talked to my husband about it, I think about my 13-year-old daughter. So I had her when I think my first year in the military. So I was 21. I got married, we wanted a family. So, we were trying to do it the right way, and we needed money. So, we got married. But what comes with the military is a lot of moving pieces, we're not really sure like what's happening here in the next couple of months, but we're just gonna, make it work. That's a lot for a little kid to handle. Honestly, it's a lot for an adult to handle, but either way, somehow we did. But as far as a kid having to, when I started thinking about it, my daughter went to a different school every single year from first grade, I would say kindergarten. I believe kindergarten. Every single year she went to a different school. 1, because of COVID, and then 2, because we were PCSing. So that means change of duty station. So like when you move and you're stationed somewhere else. So this was when I talk about my daughter, I've always said she's resilient. Like, Nala's really, really resilient. She's fine. But then when I get to thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know. Is it a good thing that she's resilient? It's almost like, has she had time to process the changes that have happened? Or has she had time to process every single move or and the answer was no. The answer was, there's a lot of times where my daughter will not process how she feels or process what's going on around her, because it's almost like she's ready for the next thing. Like she's ready for, okay, well, so that didn't work out, so what next? That is not, I would personally not think that that's a good thing. Does it happen? Absolutely. Can I stop it? Probably not. Can I change how she grew up? Absolutely not. What I can do is kind of adjust that now, right? So at her being 13, we're dealing with we're dealing with a teenage girl. Enough said. But either way, we're dealing with just a lot of everything. And so you can kind of adjust her thought process. So when we're talking about things, we kind of don't make it like, this is what's happening to you today. This is what we're doing. I've realized that I've kind of started explaining things to her, telling her things, why we're doing things. Now, I don't explain myself to a kid. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I'm explaining why certain things are occurring so that she can understand and not think like, oh, this is just another thing that we're doing. I have no idea why we're doing it because mommy said so, and that really was, I would say, the first 10 years. I would say the first 11 years of her life. Because when I got out of the military, it didn't change. I would say my first year, like I think I mentioned before, was really, really chaotic. And I was still trying to adjust. So in that time frame, she was obviously coming with me, moving with me. It was just a lot. And so I feel like in a situation like that, being resilient, I don't consider it a good thing. Now, as an adult, I feel like being resilient can also be a good thing when it comes to maneuvering in life, right? So you're talking about day to day, minute to minute, because as parents, things start from 5 o'clock in the morning and sometimes they don't end till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. So, we're getting up, we're making sure everybody's up. That's the first thing. Oh, the alarm didn't go off. We overslept. Boom. You already hit with one thing. That's a difficulty. Okay. That's a difficulty. I don't care what anybody says. When you wake up the wrong way, when the power goes out or your phone dies and you're late for work, you're started off wrong, right? You get in your car, the tire's flat. That's a difficulty. But the problem is that being resilient in situations like that almost makes you feel like you don't feel, okay, so are they okay? Like they didn't even get upset when they got in the car and the tire was flat. So I was like, okay, well, let me call the tire people or let me call, the tow truck, and we'll keep moving because you're resilient and you know how to get yourself up out of difficult situations. As an adult, I think that that's okay. I think that it's perfectly fine. I don't think that you should ignore how you feel instantly, right? So like the instant panic is going to come, the instant, I don't know what I'm going to do, but you do know what you're going to do, because 9 times out of 10, if you're like me, I already have a solution for 80% of the things that happen. And I'm not saying, let me rephrase. There are certain things in my life that happen that I have no control over. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying my phone died. I woke up late. What is my solution? I call my boss, tell her that I'm running late. I go to work. That's a solution. There's no need to panic. There's no need to, like, you have to kind of just stay where you're at and not spiral and think of all of the other things that possibly could be going wrong, because hear me out. I've done it. It's not healthy and it's not helpful because at the end of the day, you still haven't figured anything out. You just panicked about everything. So I think that it absolutely can be a good thing for adults. And let me backtrack. For kids, I feel like resiliency is good too, because of somewhat when it comes to smaller things. So like we're talking about kids at school, they're not getting along in their classes, or, they're not getting along with kids their age, whatever the case may be. it is good to be resilient, because sometimes every day is not going to look the same. Every day is not going to look like, we're going to have so much fun today. Sometimes kids are just kids, and sometimes kids are just rude and disgusting, and they don't, they want to make fun of each other, and that's what they do nowadays. And I don't have any control over that. I don't understand that, but that's how some kids interact. So I said all that to say, I guess it's just kind of how you look at it. Again, this is all my opinion. This is all my personal stories of things that I've been through, what I've experienced, and just from like my point of view. And so as far as we'll move forward, you see, I'm staying on topic. So as far as when you are dealing with having to be resilient, I feel like the important part you don't want to forget is, it's almost like you remember how you got through the last time. Now, let me stop you there, because I don't ever for a minute want anybody to, first of all, don't look at my nail. Anyway, but I don't want you guys to ever think for a minute that I'm saying I'm resilient because I always figure it out. Please believe that God is with me, okay? I believe that. I know that. I scream that to the top of the... Listen, that is my belief. Don't get me twisted with anything else. Don't get me twisted with any... That's not what I'm saying. As far as resiliency, you have to realize, obviously, that God is going to work it out regardless. But in the times where we're talking about the small things... But honestly, even with the tire situation, baby, there's been times where my tire has been flat, no tire place is open. Look at that. Someone is there to help me put on a spare tire. Like, there are just things like that happen that, I can't, there's no control over. I don't have any control over that. I know who that was, and I'm always thankful for things like that. But I had to kind of backtrack, because I didn't want any like misleading thoughts or anything like that. You already know where I am. Me and God locked in, period, for life. That's it. But thinking about how you get through situations where you have to be resilient, think of how you got through last time. So what we're going to think about like our strengths, right? We're going to also think about our weaknesses, because the problem is that if we sit here and act like we don't have any weaknesses, we absolutely will not be able to adjust when we're met with one, because we haven't acknowledged it. Right? So you're sitting there, you're like, nah, I don't have any weaknesses. I mean, I have a bunch of strengths. Like, I can do this, I can do this. You have some weaknesses, and that's okay. It don't matter. Like, it's not a big deal. You are shy. You don't like to talk in front of people. You don't like to express yourself. You like to just be quiet and figure it out on your own. That's perfectly fine as well. But sometimes it takes for you to acknowledge the fact that you're not as strong in certain, situations, or not as strong in certain aspects of your life. And that, I feel like, helps a person become resilient as well. Because take a step back. Look at the whole playing field. Look at what you have to work with. Sometimes it's not going to be cut and dry. Sometimes it's not going to be, okay, this is what you have. This is what you have to work with. Figure it out. Baby, sometimes what you have ain't made it to you yet. It ain't made it to you yet. You don't know if it's coming. You don't know if it's going. Listen, you just got to wait and see. But the resiliency in you absolutely know that you're going to somehow make it through. And the faith in you, you know that you will absolutely make it through. So I think that that's important to think about as well when you're kind of thinking about situations like that. So, I would say we'll go coping mechanisms, right? So when we're thinking about resiliency, just like how I mentioned earlier, when you're talking about the ways that you that you cope, or that you deal with difficult things, or you deal with situations that you're uncomfortable with, you shut down, you shut everyone out, I am getting better. I'm getting better, but this is what people don't understand, is that sometimes if I know that I'm not okay, I'm not going to not be okay in front of people. I'm not going to not be okay in front of, gather my whole friends to not be okay. Have I done it before? Absolutely. Would that be like my first thought to do? Absolutely not. So, but what makes it easy is that I identify my weaknesses. I identify where, okay, last time I did that, it did work out for me. And I overcame, and I was able to do so by doing this, right? So all that takes is for you to you have to tap in. You can't act like things don't happen. You can't act like, you got it all figured out. Baby, be bad at something. Be bad. It is okay. I'm bad at a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm also good at a whole bunch of stuff as well. Probably times 2 of the things that I'm bad at. And I love it. I love that about myself. I have flaws. I love my flaws. That's what makes me who I am. It is what it is. And so, just have some coping mechanisms where you don't want a coping mechanism that kind of sets you back to where you can't be resilient, right? So a coping mechanism where, let me think of one that I used to do. A coping mechanism that I used to do, I would stop talking. So I wouldn't talk in person, but baby, when I got to that phone, I would let it rip, okay? I'm telling you everything that I'm thinking about and not even what I should have done, what you should have done and how it hurt my feelings, and I'm sick of this and I'm leaving, I'm not. Baby, that was me. I couldn't tell you how I was feeling in front of you. It don't matter if you're like, okay, I'm listening. I hear you, I'm listening. Say what you have to say. Baby, I have attitude. And my attitude probably got worse when you kept asking me to express yourself. Crazy part is, that's good communication. Unbeknownst to me. Good communication. What? I didn't know nothing about it. But it's something that I have realized is needed. It is needed in every relationship, every friendship, every relationship with your spouse, with your friends, with your coworkers, with everyone, okay? Even at church, with your church family, with the people at the grocery store, with the people at the fast food, baby, good communication is important. It's important. So that's how I feel about coping mechanisms. So I had mentioned about coworkers. So I feel like there is a difference in resiliency in different environments, right? So being resilient at work means what? You're being resilient, you get to work, there's a ton of work to be done. That is difficult. Don't let nobody tell you that that's not difficult, baby. If I get to work and there's a whole bunch of stuff to do, I'm stressed. So how do I become resilient? Boom. I lean on my coping mechanism. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, I already know it's a whole bunch of stuff to do. I can't control that this is happening. I'm just going to do my work. That settles my mind. That quiets my mind, because if I can't control it, why would I try to adjust, or why would I try to change what's already happened? I can't. So it helps me be resilient in the workplace, because there are difficulties that are going to happen daily. It's going to be up and down in the workplace. It's going to be up and down, and it's going to be continuous. Trust me. Civilian, military, any workplace, it's going to be up and down, okay? Don't let nobody tell you otherwise. They're lying. Promise you. But you have to take control. It's about to start raining. But it's okay. It's okay, because I'm at home. But I didn't even tell you guys, this is really random. I didn't even tell you guys, I'm in my car because we downsized, and so I don't have the space to do my podcast like I was before. But don't fret, don't worry. This is gonna work, because how personable is this? This is even greater. I'm in the car, I'm right here, you can see me, we're good, we're locked in, don't even worry about it. But either way. So I got off topic, but let me get back on topic. So workplace resiliency, one thing. So another type of resiliency is in the community. So when I was talking about church family, people at the grocery store, and stuff like that, my thing is, when you're thinking about things like that, you also think about how you're treated in the community, right? So things that are going on around you. Today's world. Okay, so I'm not gonna get into it too much, but if you know, you know, and you know what I'm talking about. But you have to be resilient in those situations, because it's again, you can't control it. But you also have to realize it's kind of like push and pull, right? In the community, there's so much that you can't control. And it's a mind thing. It's an absolute mind thing. If you let everything that's going on in the world kind of just weigh on you, Like it's at your, whatever you do, you have to control it, or whatever you do, you have to take care of this. There's nothing that you can do to change the world. I promise. I promise you. And I hate it, but we can't change it. So you have to know how to kind of maneuver with that, because you try to take on the weight of the world, you're going to drown, baby. You're going to drown. It's not possible. So be resilient in the community. Keep your head up. Be nice to people. Be respectful. It's going to come back. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes people are just disgusting, and that's fine, because you know that you're resilient, baby. You've been working on it. You've been waiting for them, because little do they know you don't have none of that energy for them. Okay? We don't have that energy over here. Period. And then last but not least, we have our friend group. So I don't know. I would say, and I've touched on this like a little bit, my friend groups are different. So like I have different friend groups for different scenarios. I got friend groups where my friends are 50 plus. I got friend groups where my friends are 25 and younger, but there are going to be some times where friends don't mesh. Friends don't always get along. That's not me, baby. I'm neutral. I don't have nothing to do with that. So, but I'm just saying, when you're dealing with a bunch of friends, there's always going to be some type of difficulty. There's always going to be great times, but you have to realize that makes you need to be resilient as well, because you can't always freak out when things aren't going, perfect like you want them to go, or, this friend is mad at this friend, or you haven't talked to this friend in a long time. And so you kind of want to make it, you want to reach out, but then you don't know. I'm really, really bad with that. Like when I tell you, and I'm still working on that. Remember I told you I'm gonna be real transparent. If I haven't reached out in a long time, it's my mind is like playing tricks on me, where I'm like, well, I haven't reached out in so long. So if I reach out today, then they're going to be like, dang, why haven't you reached out in so long? So then I'm like thinking of this every single time. Baby, we didn't reach 4 months now. We didn't reach 4 months. I haven't heard from you, and you haven't heard from me. But my thing is, in my mind, I'm like, dang, I haven't heard from you either. So what? How does that work? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. But that's that. I'm working on it. I'm working on me. Because at the end of the day, you control you. So if I reach out and I don't get a response, or I reach out and they feel some type of way, baby, I reached out. At the end of the day, you did not reach back out to me, or you haven't reached out to me in so long, or whatever the case may be. But then you also have friends. Well, that's okay. You have friends that you don't talk to for like months, baby, years. Life be lifing. But when you start talking again, y'all are good. There are friendships like that as well. But it calls for resiliency, because that gets difficult. It's like overthinking. It's a lot that goes into that. So I said all that to say, resiliency is not just looked at as like one thing, like it doesn't apply to just one thing. It applies to all, baby. Control A, select all. Right. Exactly. It applies to everything that you have going on in every dynamic of your life, okay? So I'm going to kind of compare and contrast. So when I think of, so we've talked about resiliency. Now let's talk about, if I say, because this is another one that I said, I adapt well, I adjust well, I can adapt to anything. That's not the same thing. So like, but in my mind, it almost, I guess I've never really thought of the difference, but there's a big difference. So you're resilient. What do we say? You're dealing with, it's kind of how you bounce back from difficulties. It's how you kind of, try again, get back up again. They knock you down, get back up just the same way. But you adapting well means when new things come your way, you can adjust, right? It's completely different. And for the longest, I was like mixing the two. Like now I'm resilient and I adapt really, really well. Now, don't get me wrong. Being resilient and adapting and adjusting well, baby, match made in heaven, okay? Match made in heaven. There's nothing that you can't tell me any different. So me adjusting, so like when things change, I used to hate change. When I hated change, I like, and I'm working on it still. I really am. But change used to get me. It just, if this was supposed to happen at this time, remember I told y'all about this. If this is supposed to happen and it doesn't happen, I am pissed. I don't want to do anything anymore. Don't talk to me. I'm not going. I was supposed to get paid on this day. Didn't get paid. My whole life is over. I was supposed to get this package. It said it was coming for 4 days. It said it was coming today. And now it's delayed for 3 days. My world is over. My world is ended. Okay? But it's not a healthy way of living. Not a healthy way of living. I'm sorry. It's just not. It's not a healthy way of living. And that's okay. I have to be upfront and I have to be knowledgeable to how I'm feeling and if it's okay, if it's not okay, okay? And I suggest you do the same because listen, we gotta make change. We gotta make change. But I've said a lot. I feel like I've been rambling for a little bit. But either way, I think that this is something that we tend to kind of forget. We kind of tend to pick and choose maybe what we address or and I'm not gonna pick and choose. Like I'm kind of like scraping the surface on a few topics as I get more comfortable and I get like more feedback because I do get a lot of feedback about the podcast, but I just really wish that the people that listen, like, let's talk about it, because I know everybody doesn't agree with me. And it's okay. Like, I am perfectly fine with that. I want that. Like, let's talk about why you don't agree with what I said. Because different mindsets are perfectly fine. It takes different mindsets for things to kind of move along, if you think about it. Everyone's going to look at the world differently. Like how I see out of my eyes, my view is different from the person next to me. My view, like my husband's view, baby, that man can't see. So I know his view different, okay? Listen. It is perfectly fine, but we have to acknowledge it as well. So that's all I have for this episode. It's raining, so I'm gonna run inside, but I just wanted to kind of get things going. We are still trying to get things situated. I take my first injection on Thursday, and we are just gonna pray about it. I am excited to feel better. I'm excited to just be at peace with this whole rheumatoid arthritis thing. It is a lifelong condition and I can't run from it. I can't do anything about it. Can't control it. So only thing I can do is adjust it and adapt. So that's what we're doing. Again, as always, I appreciate all the support. I appreciate all the likes, all the comments, all the keep goings. I appreciate all of that. I need some water. But I don't forget excuse me, dry mouth. Dry mouth is a side effect of rheumatoid arthritis. Crazy work, right? But either way, I appreciate all of the support, however it may come. Just keep going, keep me going, stay the course, be resilient, acknowledge your resiliency, and adapt well because at the end of the day, we are all we got is ourselves, right? Yeah, we have family, yeah, we have friends, yeah, we have spouses, we got kids, but at the end of the day, we are the ones working this body. We are the ones working our minds. We are the ones working our thoughts. We have to get it together. Start with me, baby. Okay? So I hope everyone has a great week. I hope everyone's caught up on episodes 1 through 4. If you haven't, they're there. They're not going nowhere. I will see you guys next Monday. Look out for any announcements or anything, just depending on how this upcoming week goes. Luckily, I have a few days off for the holidays, so I can kind of really, really see how my body takes to this injection. So we will see. Fingers crossed. I will see everybody here in a little bit.